Yes, thank you to have me here today. I'm Hawa Bah, the mother of Mohamed Bah, who got killed in September 25th, 2012. I have a message today to our Mayor de Blasio. I'm here since 2012. Mohamed was my son. He was a college student. He was a brother. He was a lovely man from the community and the family. He was a hard-working man. He would go to school and drive a taxi to be independent. The NYPD took a life in September 2012. Mohamed never committed a crime in his life. Mohamed was a helpful child for everyone. Mohamed was having plans to come achieve the education in America and go back to Africa work. He wanted to be an international business person like your mom and dad. He wanted to prove to America that he got a good education, and he wanted to prove to Africa that they sent him in America for school. Mohamed worked hard. In 2004, Mohamed graduated as an honor. He called me and said, "Mom, it wasn't easy for me to change the French and English. But a graduate is your honor, Mom. I have the honor." Mohamed was always thinking about helping me, about helping the family, about helping the community. Mohamed got sick in September 2012. I flew from Africa to America to see my son. I was expecting something wrong with my son. Mohamed never born with depression. Mohamed was beat. Mohamed was beat on his head. He remember my name and my phone number. Have a belief. Education, the teacher, the parent, the neighborhood can give. And if you are a family person, something wrong with you, you got to think straight to your family. I saw my son limping, losing weight. I tried to take him to the hospital. I called an ambulance. I never called the police. Edwin Mateo see me as an immigrant. See my son need Mohamed. He decided to take his life. He unjustly killed my son, and they helped them to cover up. I'm here with my family. We will never be the same. It is clear evidence from the testimony and deposit and the court that Edwin Mateo is liable for my son's life. You still give me hard time. You take me to trial, which I not deserve. You make an appeal, which I not deserve. Mayor de Blasio, I just want you to think. Just a second. Close your eye. Think small time. If it's you, how you can feel. You have a children. Imagine if you send them abroad for education. Imagine if you send them a mission for good things. My son is justly killed in your city. You can help my family. You can help the population. You can help the immigrants to have their legacy. I don't say all police bad, but Edwin Mateo was wicked for my son. I just want you to remember, I'm suffering. You'll never give justice to my son. But I thank everyone. I thank all the faith, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, all faiths stand for me to prove the truth which it was covered up. want justice for Mohammed. I want justice for all the innocent people who unjustly killed in this country for no reason for discrimination. I want to make sure the immigrants are free here. I want to make sure the future generation cannot face what my son Mohamed Bah faced. I never expect to live this life I live today. I help people all my life. The time they take Mohammed's life here in from me, I was helping 150 less 14 people. Today I cannot help myself because I traumatized. No one want to bury even a loved one before you think about your child. I buried my 28 students for discrimination and disrespect. I want justice for Mohamed Bah. I will never stop to talk about Mohamed Bah up to my last breath in my life.
يقابلني يوم المقفى المشفع أراني إذا ما جئت يوما محمدا تحقق آمالي كما أتوقع محمد خير العالمين وسيلتي أتاك خديم ضارع يتشفع لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا أتيت بسري وإلدتي
and then to recite Al-Fatiha, and then raise your hands again, and make the takbir, the second one, and recite the Salatul Ibrahimiyya. Allahu Akbar.
أتيت بسنوي ثم أهلي وإلدتي سراعا وحول الهاشمي نتجمع وخلفي جموع ينتمون لحزبكم يعمهم التشفيع أجمع يا نفس أدركت الأماني فهذه مرابع خير الناس والنور يسطع
No, fana tahu tidak apa dia. Sona ada watak itu. Onata.
Et que Dieu l'accepte en son paradis.
wara fala sakkitorde ɗum ɗo waɗugol torare e torano kañum fati ɗon fiyo allah lon ɗon hinno mo yaafo waɗa ko ade yaafa.
Which followed the night Muhammad was shot to death. Specifically, we're going to raise a dozen serious questions that need to be answered by the people in that building and by the people at City Hall. We want the Commissioner, Ray Kelly, and the Mayor, Michael Bloomberg, to begin to speak to these questions. First, what NYPD personnel was present? Who was in charge that night? Second, was a Fulani interpreter requested by the NYPD as provided for in the patrol guide? Third, most important, why was Ms. Bah, Hawa Bah, Mohammed's mother, why was her request to assist denied in light of the procedure number 216-05 of the NYP Patrol Guide, which states, and I quote, "If necessary, request assistance of subject's family or friends." The family and friends were there that night. They were in front of the building. The police didn't have to request the assistance. They wanted to assist. And the police kept telling the mother, "No, we'll take care of it." They surely did take care of it. Fourth, what plan and tactics were developed that evening to ameliorate the situation? And who was responsible for executing the plan? 5, were protective shields deployed as required under 216-05? Witnesses told us that police had the protective shields. And even if the allegation turns out to be true, that Mohammed had a knife, if they had the shields in front of them, the knife could have not touched anybody. It was required to have the shields there. We were told they had the shields. If they went into the apartment, did they go with the shields or not? Was a 20-foot zone of safety created? The patrol guide says in these situations you should have a minimum 20 feet. So if the person is emotionally upset, you're standing back. And even if he had a knife and he was lunging, if you're 20 feet away, you're not in harm's way. When was Mohammed shot? It's reported that the 911 call occurred at 6:40 p.m. that evening. We have information to believe that he was dead by 7:30 that night. What was the reason to rush to judgment? He's in the apartment alone. There's no one in the apartment. Why do you have to rush the apartment? Cut off the electricity, cut off the water, send in a cell phone, let people talk to him. You've seen those situations before where people at the NYPD are supposed to be skilled in talking people down. Where were they that night? And finally, there's a provision which is called a hostage barricade person provision. I want to focus on 3 important points in that protocol. And remember, this is their protocol. They created these rules. The question is, did they follow them? For example, it states when there is time to negotiate, all the time necessary to ensure the safety of the individuals concerned will be used. Therefore, question 9, was all the time necessary to deal with this situation taken? It doesn't appear to be that way. Next, it says, and I quote, "If a barricade person is contained and possesses no immediate threat or danger to any person, no additional action will be taken." No additional action will be taken without the authorization of the precinct commander or the duty captain, and the key words, at the scene. Therefore, question 10, was this done? Was either the precinct commander or the duty captain at the scene that night? Because if they weren't supposed to take any action. And finally, the following statement in the patrol guide, very important. Uniformed members of the service are reminded, although the New York State penal law and the department procedures may authorize the use of deadly force in a given situation, listen next, they will not be subject to criticism or disciplinary action for choosing not to discharge their weapons. This is another indication that when you have a situation like this, you don't draw your guns and you don't fire unless there's no other recourse. Therefore, the question here is, how did we ever get to the point that deadly force was employed? And did we have to use such force? I know people are focusing in, and the headline said, deranged man lunging with knife. That's not the important question. The important question is, how did it ever get to that point? If he's in the apartment alone and he's not creating any danger to anyone, leave him there. Let him stay there. He's not going anywhere. He's not hurting anyone. He should never have wound up dead. And if they left him in there, and they let the mom come up to the 5th floor, and they let the mom talk through the door, he could be alive today.
Yes.
The Bah family, and they're a very impressive family, similar to the Diallo family. They've met with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and they have been professional, and they have been very empathetic. I have been impressed with their commitment so far to get justice in this case.
Mohamed Bah. Why you want justice? 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 When? No. When? No. When? Justice. Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. We want justice. We want justice. Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. Why you want justice? 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 When? No. When? No. When? No. When? No. When? No. We want justice. 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 We want justice.
Okay, excuse me, what's your name, please?
Bah.
Franciscus Diaba. Bah, I guess you are Mohamed Bah's sister. All my condolences for what happened to your brother, and nobody wish it. So you're here today to protest against police brutality against your brother. So tell me about this event today.
Sure. We're just here to make our presence known, to let the DA know that we're counting on them to make sure that we do get the justice we deserve. What happened was unacceptable. At no point should anyone get killed in their apartment. It was excessive. It was unnecessary. As a result, my brother lost his life. My brother wasn't feeling well. He was sick. My mom came to visit him to see him for his birthday. On the 25th, she called for an ambulance, and instead of an ambulance, 2 police officers showed up. Just to summarize it, they tried to force the away in his apartment. When he wouldn't, they broke down the door and shot him 10 times in his apartment. Knew nothing about why they did until the next day we heard some bogus charges in the news. So they broke so many protocols and so many rules as to what they were supposed to do. It's just mind-boggling. So we're asking for the DA to help us in getting justice.
So you're asking for justice, okay?
Correct. That's correct.
So that's why you're here today. And did you call the community to come to show up today on this afternoon?
Absolutely. We ask everybody in the community to come because, to be quite frank with you, if we're staying in this city, we need to make sure that our voice as a community is heard. You know, my brother was a model civilian, has no criminal records of any sort. He was working and going to school, so what was his crime? Depression was reported, nothing criminal. So
after, I think, about 2 months now, and how your family is feeling now, your mom, how she's doing now?
Honestly, this words cannot express what this has done to our family. This is a place nobody wants to be. No, we never thought we'll be in this place. You thought if you did all of the right things in this country, you never ended up here. So it's difficult.
So after here today, what will be the next step?
We are waiting to go to the grand jury. We want the cops that did this to be held accountable. Listen, all cops are not bad. You have good ones and you have bad ones, but the bad ones should not keep killing people and get away with impunity. We want them held accountable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you for coming on my microphone again. You said you are the lawyer of Mohamed Bah, who got shot by police officers. And why did you decide to take this case?
Because I just feel that too many kids, too many people in the city have been unjustly killed, and I feel this is a case that we need to take a stand. You know, I also believe that Mohamed, who is a family friend of mine, should not have been killed. You know, his mother called 911 around 6 p.m. He died at 6:40. There was no rush. The NYPD should have taken their time, you know, in making sure that, because his life was really important. There was no need to rush and kill them. You know, give an example. The NYPD should have at least called his mother, have his mother come up and talk to him, because he did not know his mother called 911. But so he just saw the NYPD. It's like, I didn't call the cops. You know, so we feel that the NYPD rushed in killing him, and we also saw that his apartment was forced in. Essentially, his door was forced in. You know, why was that? He was in the apartment by himself. He wasn't going to hurt anybody. He was by himself. What's the rush? What is the rush in trying to actually get him out of his apartment? You know, so we believe the NYPD did not follow their own protocols in this case, and we're here today to bring attention to what happened to Mohamed Bah. That's one. Two, we want the DA's office to actually fully investigate the case. Now, from our dealings with the DA's office, they've done a really good job, and they're doing a good job. And we have faith that they will fully investigate this case and try to bring an indictment. But we're here today to let them know that, you know what, we care about Mohamed Bah, and we want to bring justice to the case itself.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We want justice! We want justice! We want justice! We want
Merci.
justice! We want justice! We want justice! We want justice! We want justice! Why you want justice? Why you want justice? Why you want justice? When? Now! When? Now! When? Now! When? Now! When? Now! When? Now! When? We want justice. 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 Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah.
Hello, Fatima. You are a community activist. You here today to protest against police brutality. And tell me a little bit about how did you learn about this killing of Mohamed?
I actually learned about it from my husband. He's he's good friends with the deceased older sister, and that's how I found out about it. Yeah. I was very, very disappointed, because you think that America is a country of law, that things like that would not happen here. And when to find out that someone needed medical attention and they were killed in a matter of such a short period of time, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I am very, very disappointed in the system. I am married to a black man. I have a son, and I'm scared. I'm scared.
That's why you're here this afternoon in 100 Center Street to send a message.
Yes, we don't want criminals in uniform. We want police officers that are able to come and police the community, but not come and kill us. It's just scary. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We want justice. 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 Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. We want justice. We want justice. Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. We want justice. We want justice. Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. We want justice. We want justice. Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. Why you want justice? 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 Where? Now! 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 Where? Where? Now! Thank you. What do we want? Justice!
Okay, what's your name, please?
My name is Belko Bokum.
So I can see written police stop criminal police officer, right?
Exactly. Criminal police officers basically means officers that are gunning down our black men in our communities, and we seem to be getting no type of justice because in New York it seems like the police can do whatever they want and get away with it. I mean, granted, we need the police in our environment, in our society, to stop crime, not to gun down innocent black men. And it seems like there's been a lot of history with African men in particular being gunned down with no type of justice. And that's what we are fighting for here today. We hope to change that.
So how did you learn about the death of Mohamed Bah? How did you learn about it?
It's very sad that I did not learn about the shooting in the media. There was barely any coverage. You know, I heard of it. I heard something about it, but not too much through a friend. And then recently, a friend of mine told me, you know, this girl lost her brother, and she's really trying to gather a rally to get attention focused on it because there was no type of attention towards it. So it was through a friend that I heard about it.
So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, Fatima. Tell me what you're doing here today this afternoon in 100 Center Street.
I am here to fight for justice for Mohamed Bah. A lot has been happening in New York City that people are not aware of. So many people are being killed by the uniform. And if people are being killed by the uniform and they're being let go, then what do we have? What kind of safety and security do we have? As you can see, it's very cold here, but we are here to fight for justice for Mohamed Bah. Everyone should just be here, and whenever we call a rally next time, people should come here. So I'm here to fight, and I hope our voices will be heard.
Did you know Mohamed Bah in the past, or did you learn about him? Who was Mohamed Bah?
I didn't know about I didn't know him in person. I found out about him when he passed away, and I realized that one of his family members actually is a colleague of mine, someone I work with. And then his family called me and they told me about this. I said, you know, I have to, because when you are African and you are black in this country, you need to stand up for your people. And that's how I found out about him. It's just really tragic, really.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hundreds of people came out today to protest against the death of Mohamed, the killing of Mohamed Bah, who got shot by police officers about 2 months ago in the Bronx, and relatives, parents, friends, African leaders, community came out today to protest against the shooting of Mohamed Bah, who got shot in the Bronx. La communauté africaine, les leaders community sont aujourd'hui à Sanders Street pour protester contre la mort de Mohamed Bah qui a été tué par des policiers. C'était à Bronx il y a à peu près de cela 2 mois. Et la famille, les membres de la famille, les amis, les communautés leaders sont donc sortis aujourd'hui à Downtown 100 Sanders Street pour demander justice, l'arrestation de ces policiers qui ont perpétré la mort de Mohamed Bah. Il n'y a pas des centaines de personnes, le temps est très mauvais, mais ce qui est important, c'est le message que ces communautés leaders, ces gens sont aujourd'hui en train de donner, le message qu'ils sont en train donc de délivrer qui est le plus important. Et je pense que, et même les avocats de Mohamed Bah sont là aujourd'hui et nous les avons interviewés. Merci, c'était Karimitosh, Africa TV USA. Il fait très froid en ce moment. Et voilà, merci, à plus.
Mohamed Bah, he was a young, good man. Mohamed never committed a crime on her life. Mohamed was a good man from her family, from her work, from school, from the neighborhood. He used to help everyone. I don't know why he cannot get help when we need it. He always be sorry for people and help people. When he came here 2012, he graduated as an honor. He called me, he said, "Mommy, it wasn't easy for me to change the French and English, but I graduated with honor. As you honor, Mommy, I love you." He loved me, he loved the family, he loved everyone. Mohamed in 2012, he got beat from unknowing people. I never have chance to know who beat him. When the beating on the head started getting depression because he was talking to me things which not make sense. I tried to take him to the hospital. I called an ambulance. They can't force the door, broke the door, shut in on the because they see his name is Mohamed. He is a color. They see I'm an immigrant. It's an execution and cover up. I need justice for Mohamed. I need justice for all innocent victims who got killed from the NYPD. NYPD need to create law.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Tyler, one more with Amanda.
He here legally to look for a better life, and the jury proved the truth that they are guilty to kill my son. The mayor and the city of New York State upset to pass me through this pain, but was stand strong to make sure not a family, not a mom, not a parent cannot go through what I go through with my son, and the future generation will benefit from my son's legacy. Thank you.
Courtroom. Consecrate us, your servants, that your will may be done. That the cry of the poor may be heard. That the cry of Mohamed Bah may yet be heard. That the cry of Mohamed Bah may yet be heard.
Oh Allah, you are the God of justice. guided us thus far. Continue to guide us, O Allah. Open the hearts of the judge and the hearts of those who must continue to make decisions in this case. Keep us all strong. Keep Mrs. Bah strong in faith, and let your will be done. Amen.
We proclaim victory. Proclamamos victoria.
Bonne chance. Hein.
Merci.
Vous êtes confiant que ça va
oui,
bien se passer?
Oui, je pense que la justice va toujours prévaloir et que Dieu est de notre côté. Merci.
Whether or not the lieutenant ultimately escapes liability. We strongly hope that the judge will uphold the finding of supervisory liability against Lieutenant Lasitra, because we think that to avoid these sorts of tragedies in the future, not only the officers who fire the weapons, but the people responsible for supervising their actions have to be closely scrutinized.
I feel so bad. I feel ridiculous. I feel discriminated. They continue to discriminate me and my son. But that is not the end. I truly appreciate to stand with you and make sure Mohamed legacy is out and the future generation cannot pass through where I passed through. Those people why they killed my son for. I called them. Oh, so who will call now for help? Who will call for help? Who will call for help?
What you want?
Justice!
Where?
Now!
Where?
Now!
Where?
Now!
What you want?
Justice!
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 Justice!
Justice
for Mohamed Bah!
Justice for Mohamed Bah!
Justice for Mohamed Bah!
Justice for Mohamed Bah!
Justice! Do you still have hope?
I still have the hope. I still have the hope. The truth is the truth. Nothing can change the truth. This is not just because they did it. We passed through trial to put the verdict out. Thank you for all you.
One of their officers illegally, unconstitutionally shot and killed a man when he presented a threat to no one.
That's right.
The fact that this city and this mayor and this police department are fighting this case so hard is a travesty and is salt in the wounds of this family. Rather than resolve and accept the verdict, we always hear, we accept the verdict, the jury's conclusion. I guess they don't accept it when it goes against them. It's time to put this tragedy behind us, to let this family grieve and bury their loved ones without feeling every day that some judge, some court, somewhere is going to give them a lack of justice again. So we're hoping the city, after the judge's questions, will stop this insanity and let this case go.
Why do you think they're fighting it so hard?
You know, it's amazing to me. This is one of the few cases of police killings. Eric Garner didn't go to trial. Ramarley Graham didn't go to trial. For some reason, which is beyond my comprehension, the city feels that in the killing of this young man, they have a right to draw out this case for years. But here's my message to them. We're prepared to fight this case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Amen. Amen.
We believe that this verdict is sufficient evidence in this record, and the questions this judge put to these lawyers today, well, I can't predict the future. He certainly understands the issues.
That's right.
So we're confident that at the end of the day, this verdict will be upheld in this court.
Today we are here to celebrate the vigil of Mohamed Bah, but in reality we're celebrating everybody's, all mothers, all children that lost in the arms of the NYPD. Every one of you is working, paying taxes to be protected. That is the reason my mother called for help. She was in need of help. Instead of having help, she is here today celebrating the death of her son, the death of my brother. It's unacceptable.
Add to the list Mohamed Bah.
Right.
When his mother, Hawa Bah, called 911 because her son was sick, they sent the police. When the officers arrived on the scene, they forced their way into the home with guns drawn and killed a son of our city, Mohamed. The seventh and final bullet was fired by Officer Edwin Mateo at close range into Mohamed Bah's head as he lay on the ground. Last November, a civil trial found Officer Edwin Mateo liable for using excessive force, but city attorneys filed for qualified immunity, a federal doctrine protecting government officials from civil damages. In a nutshell, the city of New York is asking Judge Peter Kevin Castell to throw out the jury's verdict because Bah's killers are cops. If successful, they'll give police officers around the country legal cover for murder. That is why we have joined as faith leaders, because we are the conscience of America. And we are in this fight in solidarity with Hawa Bah today, tomorrow, and until we see justice for Mohamed.
Mohamed! Mohamed! Sister.
Young man, they have a right to draw out this case for years. But here's my message to them. We're prepared to fight this case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Amen. Amen.
We believe that this verdict is sufficient evidence in this record, and the questions this judge put to these lawyers today, well, I can't predict the future. He certainly understands the issues.
That's right.
So we're confident that at the end of the day, this verdict will be upheld in this court.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice. We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want justice.
What do you tell your New Yorker, your city, when a police officer is judged by the city, found guilty, that they can hide and be immune from killing someone? What message do you send to them? But when a criminal, someone is found guilty, they're put in prison. They are found guilty. So it was a guilty verdict instructed by a judge, and everything went well.
Mohamed walked me up to that last building, but he was limping, lose weight, don't talk straight, and he was wound on the side of the head. And when we called the ambulance, I saw right here a police officer car in back. When I saw him, he came close to me. I said, no, I don't call police. Go away, I call an ambulance. Finally, I see those people coming with my son with CPR. I said, what's the people doing CPR to my son? I run behind, I want to get in the ambulance for Mohamed. He said, no, you can't come with Mohamed. Finally, they took me in the living room and the doctor shook my hand and said, I'm sorry for your loss. They killed you, son. I said, why? Why they killed my son for? He said, you don't know.
For there to be a new trial ordered, what would really have to happen is the finding against Detective Mateo would have to be thrown out.
Okay, so and if he threw out the finding against the lieutenant, what would happen then? If only if he just decided to do that for whatever reason.
If he decided to just throw out the supervisory liability claim against Lieutenant Lasitre, then we, the plaintiffs, would have to make a decision whether or not that was an issue that we wanted to appeal, or whether we wanted to try to resolve the case based on the fact that we had a jury finding of Detective Mateo's constitutional violation.
Who make sure this is not a good way to act to people. And I feel good for the supporting what you give to me, but I feel so bad. How can the city of New York can take a college student life in their own home?
That's right.
Which they know Mohamed Bah was good for everyone, but was stand strong to make sure not a family, not a mom, not a parent cannot go through what I go through with my son, and the future generation will benefit from my son's legacy. Thank you.
How do you feel about them after all these years coming and trying to overturn this?
I feel so bad. I feel ridiculous. I feel discriminated. They continue to discriminate me and my son. But that is not the end. I truly appreciate to stand with you and make sure Mohamed's legacy is out and the future generation cannot pass through where I passed through.
Right. Do you still have hope?
I still have the hope. I still have the hope. The truth is the truth.
Yeah.
Nothing can change the truth. This is not just because they did it. We passed through trial to put the verdict out. Thank you for all it.
Today, the city tried to overturn a verdict of a jury that found that one of their officers illegally, unconstitutionally shot and killed a man when he presented a threat to no one.
That's right.
The fact that this city and this mayor and this police department are fighting this case so hard is a travesty and is an insult in the wounds of this family. Rather than resolve and accept the verdict, we always hear, we accept the verdict, the jury's conclusion. I guess they don't accept it when it goes against them. It's time to put this tragedy behind us, to let this family grieve and bury their loved ones without feeling every day that some judge, some court, somewhere is going to give them a lack of justice again. So we're hoping the city, after the judge's questions, will stop this insanity and let this case go.
Why do you think they're fighting it so hard?
You know, it's amazing to me. This is one of the few cases of police killings. Eric Garner didn't go to trial. Ramarley Graham didn't go to trial. For some reason, which is beyond my comprehension, the city feels that in the killing of this young man, they have a right to draw out this case for years. But here's my message to them. We're prepared to fight this case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Amen.
We believe that this verdict is sufficient evidence in this record, and the questions this judge put to these lawyers today, well, I can't predict the future. He certainly understands the issues.
That's right.
So we're confident that at the end of the day, this verdict will be upheld in this court. But that's not the end. I certainly expect the city to try and take this case to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals and get the verdict reversed again. That's what their game is. And then ultimately to go to the Supreme Court. Well, guess what? We're ready for that fight. We're going to have that fight. And ultimately, we will win.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Peter Heltzel. On behalf of the faith community, Imam Talib, Imam Kanate, during Ramadan, we are here to fast and to pray for justice for Mohamed Bah. Like so many other black men in the United States, Eric Garner has been denied justice even in death. This begins the editorial board's May 15th column of the New York Times to honor Eric Garner's life, Reform the Police. Add to the list Mohamed Bah.
Right.
When his mother, Hawa Bah, called 911 because her son was sick, they sent the police. When the officers arrived on the scene, they forced their way into the home with guns drawn and killed a son of our city, Mohamed. The seventh and final bullet was fired by Officer Edwin Mateo at close range into Mohamed Bah's head as he lay on the ground. Last November, a civil trial found Officer Edwin Mateo liable for using excessive force, but city attorneys filed for qualified immunity, a federal doctrine protecting government officials from civil damages. In a nutshell, the city of New York is asking Judge Peter Kevin Castell to throw out the jury's verdict because Bah's killers are cops. If successful, they'll give police officers around the country legal cover for murder. That is why we have joined as faith leaders, because we are the conscience of America. And we are in this fight in solidarity with Hawa Bah today, tomorrow, and until we see justice for Mohamed.
Mohamed! Mohamed!
This is the big white button.
Faut aller derrière, faut aller derrière. Yeah, thank you.
Hey Tyler, one more with a minute.
Nous sommes partis à travers le jury a fait un jugement. Je pense que ça va, comment dirais-je, le juge sera de notre côté.
Ok. Tu es satisfait?
Oui, ce qui s'est passé là-bas, c'était assez concluant. Le juge était très pragmatique. Donc le juge ne nous a pas donné l'occasion d'aller en besogne. Donc on est resté sur le sujet et aussi les questions étaient assez courtes et précises. Et on a vu quand même que les avocats de la défense voulaient être un peu évasifs cette fois-ci à travers leur assessment de la situation avec ce qui s'est passé la dernière fois. Mais le juge les a ramenés au point.
Merci.
Donc ce qu'il faut retenir, c'est que si le juge n'a pas la pression qu'il doit avoir, il fait un bon délibérément en fonction de des questions qu'il a posées. Nous restons toujours dans l'affirmative que oui, ce verdict sera maintenu.
Merci.
Merci.
Vous êtes contente? Vous êtes contente? Ça va? Ça va marcher, non? Ça va
marcher, Inch'Allah.
D'accord.
So I'll be in the next one. We'll switch. The Justice Committee. No.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
One with a mirror. We have to get him integrated into
Come on,
the
you already sent me the photo yourself?
I will send you the photo.
Mira, mi jetti trekken.
Ma hin jeften taxi. Joni o fillitani men nyande gayno den do. Jakari wo be fon habbe na. Se yahay.
Ready? So, whatever. Mayor de Blasio, drop the appeal.
Mayor de Blasio, drop the appeal.
Let the Bah family start to heal.
Let the Bah family start to heal.
Mayor de Blasio, drop the appeal.
Mayor de Blasio, drop the appeal.
Let the Bah family start to heal.
Let the Bah family start to heal.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's almost been 6 years since the NYPD murdered my son Mohamed Bah in his own home. NYPD officer shot my son 8 times. Officer Mateo fired the last shot as close when Mohamed was lying on the ground. Last November, jury for my son's civil suit find Officer Mateo liable using excessive force. Now, Mayor de Blasio is appealing this jury verdict, forcing my family to remove Mohamed Bah murdering every day. I am here today to call Mayor de Blasio to stop torturing my family and drop the appeal immediately. Mohamed Bah was a Muslim man. He was an honor student. He was a taxi driver, a wonderful son. He have never committed a crime in his life. NYPD took him from me on September 25, 2012. Mohamed was sick. I know he needed a help. I called a 911 calling an ambulance to take him to the hospital. The police came instead. Instead of helping him, they treated him like a criminal. They forced their way in Mohamed's apartment without warrant. They shot him 8 times. Officer Mateo fired the last shot at close range execution style. I never have any justice for my son murdering because the DA and the DOJ failed to bring any criminal charge. However, last November, some of the truth finally come out during the civil trial. The judge fined Officer Mateo a literal liable. Finally, after 6 years of fighting, some of the truth come out. And my family thought we could have some closure. But now, the mayor has thrown opening a wound that was only starting healing. I don't understand why Mayor de Blasio putting my family through this suffering. Fighting the civil suit every time we have to return to court. We are suffering to remain unjustly murder my son. It's almost too much to bear, but we keep on fighting because we want the truth to be told. Mayor de Blasio are trying to protect the officer who killed my son. He continued deleting and hiding information about this case. And he is trying to throw out jury ruling against Officer Mateo
using excessive force against my son. When our mayor protects the officer who unjustly killing New Yorkers, it sends a message that they can kill us, nothing will happen. That should stop. I am here today to call Mayor de Blasio to drop the appeal for our civil suit immediately. I am going to deliver a letter sending a message asking to meet with him. I want to hear from him face to face why he still continue to make my family suffer and the other family suffer. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Face to face. Face to face.
I'd like to now introduce the Bah family's attorney, Randolph.
Evidence against Mateo is overwhelming. There is absolutely no merit to an appeal of the verdict against Mateo. In his testimony, Mateo admitted that he called out, "Shoot him, he's stabbing me." At the trial, he was forced to admit under oath that when he said those words, Mr. Bah was not stabbing him or anyone else. In a court of justice, in a criminal court, when you shoot someone and kill them without justification or self-defense, that's called murder. In the civil case, it's called excessive force. In addition, a former New York City chief medical examiner, Dr. Mohamed Bah, testified that when Mr. Bah was shot in the head, Mr. Bah was a threat to no one, as he had already been shot 7 times, and he was laying on his back without a threat to anyone. And that is when Mateo creeped up to him and discharged the fatal bullet. That bullet was, the muzzle of his gun was so close to Mr. Bah's head, about 18 inches away, that the wound caused what's called stippling around the wound. That's a close distance from the head. Why they're appealing this case is a mystery to all of us. This is the first case of its nature that the city, A, took to trial, and B, lost at trial. They've settled countless numbers of cases involving police brutality. The Corporation Counsel of the City of New York, Zachary Carter, when he was the U.S. Attorney in Brooklyn, his office prosecuted the torturers of Abner Louima. So police brutality is not an issue he's unfamiliar with. But for some reason, unknown to us, his office and this mayor, the progressive mayor, is choosing to continue to abuse this family, to hang this case over their heads. There will be no closure until this appeal is either dropped or we win. And we will win. There's no question in my mind. This is a bogus appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and I thank you, Mrs. Bah, for sharing your emotional testimony. I know it's very hard for you. I'd like to now introduce another speaker of ours. I'd like to introduce Gwen Carr, the mother of Eric Garner. She's here in solidarity with the Bah family. Thank you. Round of applause.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. We stand again. I'm here today to stand with Hawa Bah and her family to call on Mayor de Blasio to drop the appeal in Mohamed Bah's civil case. Mohamed's family has already suffered enough. It was unjust tragedy for them to kill Mohamed Bah. Mohamed Bah. And now the family is still suffering because that they're bringing an appeal. This is just so, this is crazy. Mohammed's family has gone through so much, and the de Blasio administration should drop the appeal and let it rest. The de Blasio administration appealed Mohamed Bah's civil suit in part of a terrible pattern of shielding the abusive officers. Just like in my son's case, Eric Garner, for 4 years we suffered this, and none of the police officers were held accountable for this. And so now, and they tried to say that they were waiting on the DOJ, which is not true. The DOJ had already given the go-ahead for them to prosecute, to go ahead and prosecute and use disciplinary actions as they see fit. But they were hiding behind the 58 also to protect the police officers who does this. They protect the police officers who kill our sons. They protect the police officers with abusive records. Just like Daniel Pantaleo, he had an abusive record before my son. But with the 58 law, this protects them. But now, we need to ask Mayor de Blasio to do the right thing by the Bah family and all of our families. He needs to drop the appeal of the Bah civil case, and he should fire all the officers in all of our cases who did misconduct and who was abusive to our children. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Carr. Another round of applause, please. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Lamumba Mandela, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, we stand here in support of Hawa Bah and her family in the demand that this administration drop the appeal of the civil suit. This administration has failed this family over and over again. They have failed them from the beginning. The mayor now has an opportunity to stand on the right side of justice. If he chooses, he can switch roles. We are standing with this family in demanding that they drop the appeal. The family needs time to heal. The appeal is continuing to put more undue pressure, pain, and suffering on this family. I ask the administration to look around us today. This is the people of New York City. Who do you stand with? Drop the appeal.
Yes, thank you. That's right. So now I'd like to introduce Councilmember Antonio Reneso.
Thank you. First, I just want to say it's unfortunate that we continue to have these press conferences where people of color that die at the hands of the police continue to not find justice. And then when we do seek and find justice through civil suits, this administration continues to obstruct that justice. It is extremely unfortunate. This mayor has been a coward. He's been a coward when it comes to standing up to the NYPD when it makes sense. It makes sense to not appeal this decision. It makes sense to move forward with allowing for this family to see the justice that they finally fought for. That's what makes sense. And this administration stands to obstruct. Whether it's with Marley Graham, whether it's Eric Garner, we see families waiting half a decade to get information on what is happening to their children. Under any other circumstance, by any other means, a normal, thoughtful person would know to move forward in finding justice for those families, for communities of color, to stand up to the NYPD when they make a mistake, when they do wrong. And that doesn't happen here. For this appeal, it's amazing, it's unbelievable that there is an appeal when we have a civil suit. We finally go around you. We go around your ridiculous obstacles waiting for DOJ to bring justice to these communities, DOJ to bring justice to these communities, internal practices that we know nothing about behind closed doors. We go around that through a civil suit. We find justice, and you still want to stop that as well. It is unbelievable that this mayor is doing this. So I'm going to stand here saying drop the appeal. And we stand with these families, always stand with these families, until we finally get justice against these police officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. Now I'd like to introduce two people. The first person I'd like to introduce is Rama Asa Ibrahim, the Executive Director of the Arab American Association of New York and a representative of Communities United for Police Reform. And I'd like to also introduce Saeed Mir Matin Tami, a youth leader from Desi Rising and Moving Forward.
Hi, everyone.
Go ahead.
My name is Rama Isa. I'm the Executive Director of the Arab American Association of New York and a member of Communities United for Police Reform. Today we're here standing alongside Mrs. Bah, the mother of Mohamed Bah, who was gunned down 6 years ago in what should have been the safety of his home after Mrs. Bah called 911 because she wanted medical attention for her son. Instead, the NYPD arrived first, forcibly entered his home against their own protocol and without a warrant. And unfortunately, this happens all too often to those who are experiencing emotional or psychological distress. The police treated Mohamed like a criminal because he was black, immigrant, a Muslim, and in emotional distress. NYPD officers shot Mohamed 8 times, the last shot to his head at close range, executional style. It's bad enough that it took over 5 years for the civil trial to take place, and that even now, the city has taken no action to hold officers accountable or ensure meaningful discipline. It's painful and unjustifiable that Mrs. Bah has to stand here today at a press conference to demand that the de Blasio administration drop their unwarranted appeal to the civil suit decision. The jury already found Matteo used excessive force and that Sintra failed to supervise, enabling the death of Mohamed Bah. The fact that the de Blasio administration is prolonging the suffering of this family is indecent and improper, and it's about protecting NYPD officers instead of protecting New Yorkers and our communities from escalations of violence from police. No amount of money can bring a loved one back or erase the pain that Mrs. Bah and her family continue to experience every day. But it's very simple. The mayor has the power to stop this added anguish and prolonged pain. This is why the Arab American Association of New York and Communities United for Police Reform are here standing alongside Mrs. Bah in demanding that the de Blasio administration drop this appeal and stop making this family suffer even more than they already have.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Tammy. I'm a youth leader at Drum, Desi's Rising Up and Moving. And I am an undocumented Muslim immigrant. Drum builds the power of working class community, members of the South Asian diaspora, many of who are undocumented and Muslim. We have members who have been targets of various law enforcement agencies, including the NYPD. For us, it is especially important to stand with Mrs. Bah and her family as she calls on Mayor de Blasio to drop the appeal against the Mohamed Bah civil lawsuit. We know there is a long history of black folks being murdered by the police and officers never being held accountable for their murders. It is important for us as South Asian and Indo-Caribbeans to build solidarity with the black community as the police continue taking our community members away from us through mass incarceration or murder. Drum was founded in 2000, and our very first action was to protest the killing of Amadou Diallo, who was a black immigrant that was shot 41 times by the NYPD in his apartment in the Bronx. We joined the families of Eric Gardner, Delron Small, Shahid Vassell, and other black folks killed by the NYPD to call on the city to give them justice. Mayor de Blasio has a pattern of shielding abusive NYPD officers who have unjustly taken the lives of black and brown New Yorkers. He continues to misinterpret State Law 58, the police secrecy law, in order to protect abusive officers and hide their disciplinary records. We are demanding that de Blasio end this pattern and that he immediately drop the Mohamed Bah civil suit. Mohamed's family has suffered for too long. De Blasio should let his family rest and respect the decision of the New Yorkers who served on the jury for the trial by the dropping of appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Yael Shafritz, Jews from Racial and Economic Justice.
Hi, my name is Yael. I'm a member of Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. And we're here today to stand with Hawa Bah and her family and call on Mayor de Blasio to drop the Mohamed Bah civil suit. As you've heard from many today, this is yet another case of injustice from an administration that cares more about protecting the NYPD than seeing justice for our Black, Muslim, and immigrant communities. Mohamed Bah was an immigrant, a Black man, and a Muslim, and because of this, he was targeted by the NYPD. As Jews, we understand how it is to be a stranger, marginalized, and targeted. That is why we stand with our Muslim, immigrant, and Black siblings against the profiling that has led to the murder of so many like Mohamed Bah. But not only did de Blasio refuse to prosecute Mohamed's killers, but he is now using his power to block justice from being done through the civil courts by appealing their decisions. In Judaism, we are taught we must not only care for the stranger, but we must apply the same laws of justice to all members of the community. We must not have two systems of justice. In the Bible it says, when throughout the ages a stranger takes up residence with you, or one who lives among you, the same rules shall apply to you and to the stranger who resides among you. In other words, having two systems of justice is no justice at all. The Bah family has suffered enough. Hawa and her family, they deserve justice. We demand de Blasio respect the New Yorkers who sat on the jury for the civil suit, respect the families, and drop the appeal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to introduce Eric Vassell, father of Saeed Vassell, and Joshua Lopez, nephew of John Collado.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Vassell. I'm the father of Saeed Vassell. My son was murdered by the New York Police Department on July the 4th, 2018. In the space of 5 seconds, they shot him 10 times while he was going about his business. I'm here standing with Miss Bah today, asking for justice for his son. I understand her sleepless night for all these years. I understand her the pain that she's going through. I understand the hours of grievance that she's been going through. Today I'm asking Mayor Blasio to drop the civil lawsuit so the Bah family can live in peace and be happy again. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joshua Lopez. I am the nephew of John Collado. My family is currently fighting a civil suit that just began on Monday. And I spoke with my uncle's widow, and she has stated to me that she just wants this to be over with. So I'm over here standing in solidarity with Mohamed Bah's family and asking the mayor to drop his appeal, because I know too well how the suffering of a family member can be, and going back and forth to court, it can wear you down and stuff. So we're asking Mayor de Blasio to stop his appeal, and it's a shame for him to be appealing this case. Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to introduce Reverend Raymond Rivera to lead a closing prayer.
As I pray this afternoon, on behalf of the faith community, the Micah clergy table, that there are Rabbi Michael Feinberg and Reverend Dr. Hena and others, I stand here as a Christian minister. I stand here as a Christian minister and as Jewish rabbis supporting the Bah family, and Muslims from the Micah clergy table also. And to Mother, let me just give you a word of life before I pray. In our faith tradition, there is power. There's the power of Nat Turner and John Brown that rebelled during the times of slavery. There's the power of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement that rose against Jim Crow segregation. There's the power of the women's suffrage movement that rised and acquired rights for women. There's the Me Too movement There's the Young People's Movement against gun violence. And we stand with all of those groups, and we stand with you because we believe that there's power in the faith community, and together we will overcome. As I conclude this prayer and stand in solidarity with my fellow clergy, let me be very, very clear. In our faith community, there are narratives in our sacred texts of the Bible where our communities were persecuted, and the imagery that was used was beasts and dragons that came against this early faith community. These communities understood that this imagery of beasts and dragons was really the state, and they understood that it was the imagery. And I want you to know that some of us here don't understand why the state, or why the mayor, or why the president does this. It's because sometimes the state becomes nothing less than beasts and dragons. And I say this afternoon, fight the beast. Come on, let's say it.
Fight the beast.
Fight the dragon.
Fight the dragon.
Fight the beast.
Fight the beast.
Fight the dragon.
Fight the dragon.
And as we do that, we rely on our faith. Our faith will ultimately, our scriptures of Old and New Testament say that the dragon and the beast will be ultimately defeated. Yes. We pray in our various traditions. I'm going to pray, then Rabbi will pray, and then our brother Iman will pray. Lord, we pray for Mother Bah, her family, FBOs and CBOs and just unaffiliated people, but they all stand for justice. We pray that your power will cover her and give us strength to carry on.
Amen.
La victoria, clamando victoria.
La victoria siempre.
Elna Rafanallah. May God give, and we know that the true comfort and true consolation is through justice. Some measure of justice that they finally won after many years through the civil justice, and toward compassion to this family and to all families who've suffered at the hands of police violence. This together in all of our faith stands. Amen. Amen.
Justicia para la familia Bah, para todas las familias que han perdido un hijo o hija por la injusticia de la sistema, específicamente la policía.
Fight the beast.
Fight the beast.
Fight the dragon.
Fight the dragon.
Fight the beast.
Fight the beast.
Fight the dragon.
Fight the dragon.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Woo!